Efendim merhabalar, iyi akşamlar. 3 günlük bir yoğun
Good evening. After a really hard marathon of MARUF, we are at the end of the forum. I would like to thank Elif Akçada helping us with the sign language. During the closing session, we will be talking with 3 MARUF coordinator and 4 board members of executive board. Ezgi Küçük Çalışkan, Elif Akçadağ, Görsev Arkın, coordinators, and our members of Executive Board, Tarkan Oktay, Mr. Metin, Mr. Alim, and Mr. Aslı Ceylan, Ms. Aslı Ceylan. Welcome. Tonight we have spoken Maruf with our young friends. Before that, Mr. Alim and Ms. Itır had evaluation with young friends every day. We have members of executive board, and a general evaluation and assessment would be great, and that's what we want to do. And with the feedback we will receive from here on 2023, on the 100th year of the Republic, and on 2025, on the 50th anniversary of Marmara Municipalities Union, we will come up with better MARUF forum. So I will speak first, and then I will leave the floor to our coordinators. MARUF, the first MARUF was in 2019, and it was virtual because of the pandemic. We had the aspects that we liked and we did not like. We received comments and we received criticism. There were positive sides and negative sides. And some points made us think that we don't have to do this again. Since we are a union of municipalities and we are a public institution, when we are doing any business, we are asking ourselves one question: what is the public benefit coming out from what we did? And since we are a municipalities union, what is the concrete contribution of what we did to the municipalities? Good practices and other activities were there, and we wanted to involve every group, every circle of the society. And however, a municipalities union's perspective is capacity building for municipalities, ensuring inclusive democratic local governments. One of the primary objectives of MARUF is this. We started on September 2019 for the preparation phase. We worked with the creative team and the coordinators team, and also we worked with our members of the executive board, and they put great efforts to the preparation phase. We had meetings with the executive board. It is under MARUF 2021, and it is based on voluntariness. The people we know, the people of whom we are sure of the proficiency, and the people who we think would not refuse us are the people that we contact. And even though we know that they are too busy, they spare time from your life, and they try to add value to this business. So they add value to our international meeting, and we had our meetings online this year. We had several. And following that, we had meetings in groups with the executive board of MARUF. Also, we spoke in person with the members because we needed to make benefits. We needed to get help from their expertise. Most of the times, the members came up with the suggestions. We did not contact them, but they contacted us. They said we could have this activity or the other one. Young table meetings was a suggestion of Ms. Itır. We would like to thank her for this idea. Ahan Awards was a suggestion of Ms. Ceylan, and it was for the young people from abroad. should be in MARUF. And Mr. Tarkan was pushing us towards this motive. Mr. Alim is with us about city stats, data management, and he was all about it. He wanted us to touch upon these issues. He guided us towards that objective. Some members of the executive board suggested coming up with games and also working on the immigrant issue, and we are grateful to them for all their contributions. I would like to thank everyone who contributed, including the speakers, the executive board members. I'm not doing this out of courtesy, but I would like to say that MARUF is an inclusive and multi-stakeholder organization. We see the brand of Marmara Municipalities Union here, and it shows the culture and the fact that it makes collaboration between the municipalities possible. That's what makes MARUF possible. People from NGOs and private sector, etc. We are doing this together, and we are working on the themes. We had discussions with our members in different meetings. What should we talk about this year? What is the most important thing in people's life? Were the questions that we tried to answer, because MARUF is based on solution, coming up with solution, and we are a solution-based organization, and gathering different solutions and coming up with concrete formulas for concrete problems. That might be our goal. We came up with the themes, then we were about to decide on our main theme. The data we obtained from the executive board were conveyed to the municipality mayors. As you know, we are made of mayors from different political parties, and we have our executive board from different political parties. The mayors contributed greatly to this year's MARUF because they evaluated with enthusiasm the messages we conveyed. We had 3 different meetings with 3 different titles in our city council. We revised those topics monthly and altered some over time. Mr. Tahir Büyükakın, our president, had great efforts personally on deciding on the main themes. And I wasn't the person to present these themes, but it was the creative team and the other team members that presented those to the city council. And the municipality mayors listened to the criticism and listened to the opinions, and there were some opinions that were not shared by our friends. But Rethink COACT slogan was approved by the municipality mayors, the city council, and the executive board. There was a consensus on this slogan, and that's how we identified our themes. In this year's MARUF, we tried to do some things differently. We had some efforts towards that. We had some activities, and there were a great variety of activities, and I would like to leave the floor to a great contributor of MARUF. She were busy, and she worked day and night for MARUF, including the weekends, and they are the 3 coordinators. First, we will start with Ezgi Küçük Çalışkan, and maybe she can talk about the content of the MARUF theme, and I'll leave the floor to her now. Hello again, thanks Mr. Cemil. I would like to say congratulations to everyone here because it was busy work, it was demanding, and the first comment shows that we had a positive event. I don't want to repeat what Mr. Cemil said, but maybe I can come up with a comparison between 2019 and today. at one hand coming up with the schedule and also moderating some sessions were the roles I overtook during MARUF, so I couldn't step back and see the total picture and how we did. That's why today's meeting is important. When we look at the last MARUF, we had 51 sessions. In 2019, we had a physical forum, and we had 12 themes. We had 250 speakers from different countries, and we had more than 166 partners. We see that we doubled the numbers this year. Maybe that's because it is online, and that might be the only positive side of having the forum virtually. We can contact more institutions and more people. We had more than 50 sessions. Some of them were cancelled at the last moment. We had more than 500 speakers, and they were approximately from 50 countries. Our partner number was 114. Burcu will speak in more detail, but I see it's almost doubled. Different to MARUF from 2019, we switched to going by theme. We did not want to going by theme because of the pandemic. The urban health would be overlooked if we went over the themes. That's why one of the axes of the program would be the urban health, healthy cities. Some other axis for the content was sustainability. Another one was resilience. Not only about the pandemic, but also about immigrant earthquakes, floods were there. So we wanted to talk about resilience against these incidents. Another axe was ensuring creating creative cities. That's why we added creative activities to the program. Some of them were the workshops, the meetings, the interviews with the young people, and another one was innovative cities. And on the innovative cities axe, the young perspective, technology, or not only technology, but using the existing tools more innovatively were the topics. And finally, of course, inclusiveness. That's one of the main goals that we have, and this is valid for everyone. For people who are inside the city or who are outside the city but in contact with the city, we should be coming up with inclusive solutions. I hope I didn't miss out any axis. We had 6. Then we came up with 111 hashtags. Those were our main themes, and we tagged our activities with those hashtags. Of course, MARUF started before these 3 days because we had MARUF on the go, and there was a preparation phase. Not only the meetings, but the stakeholders were a part of this process, and they started their recreative work beforehand. I believe visualizing these efforts would be more beneficial for us. During these 3 days, maybe the most beautiful part of it was the young table activities, making the young people an active part of the forum and getting contribution from their part was really valuable. We wanted to have them shaping some programs, some activities. We had some competitions, and we had more participants to it compared to the last year. And I hope we have seen that the young people would talk about the city in a more aware behavior, aware manner. So that will be all from me, and I would like to leave the floor to my professors. Ms. Burjuhan, apart from the content, you were interested in international partnership and international dialogue, and sometimes I believe you can give us information by comparing it to 2019. Actually, before this session, we had another session participated by 6 Kent forums. There were city forums from Malaysia, America, Russia, and there were representatives. And there were people who organized Malaysia City Forum. One of them said, Kent city forums are networking areas. They are not only events. And that's where we position MARUF. We never think about it as only as an event, but we consider it as a networking area or a platform and a good practice platform, good practice sharing platform. We had sent an email to the participants, and the title was "Every Ending is a Start." So I think that summarizes a lot. We don't think MARUF is limited to 3 days. Of course, it has interaction and it is more dense when it's face-to-face, but in online we can do it as well. And these are always the starting point of partnerships and joint work. That's what I observed in previous MARUF. New collaboration and cooperation opportunities were born between the participants and the speakers as well, because we receive feedback from the participants about similar incidents. Sometimes some people see what they plan to do that was done before, and they are inspired and they come up with new initiatives building on that. I believe this on its own is quite striking, because we have a lot of good practices from inside and outside Turkey and vice versa. MARUF is a great example of this setting. There are many issues like climate change, pandemic, the mass immigrant movements. So we have a lot to learn because these problems are shared by the world. But when we look at the immigrant experience of Turkey, we have a lot to narrate, and sometimes we are not able to narrate. We lack skills for that, and we wanted to use MARUF as a tool for that. After the forum, we sent emails to people who follow us, who write about the cities, and we sent those mails to the municipalities as well. And we want to continue doing that, as we talked about it. We went over the concept of hashtags. We had 12 themes last year, but we have more than 100 hashtags this year. We saw that no topic can be solved if it's discussed on its own. It should be discussed in an interdisciplinary way. We are talking about employment, immigrants, we are talking about economy, social cohesion, and if we talk about one of them separately, that does not solve anything. So this hashtag system can get together the topics that have many shared issues. That's how we wanted to have our sessions designated in the first place. We wanted to make them more comprehensive and more inclusive. One of the most points when we were doing that was not doing this on its own, because I'm a person who was interested in the international global partnership. We are not doing MARUF on our own. This was never the case, and we have 66 partners before. The development agencies, municipalities, universities, NGOs, international organizations were among our partners. This year it increased to 114, and this is not only limited to the increase in the limit, but also it leads to variety of the partners from different sectors, and it led us the way to address different problems. 36 of our partners were from abroad and 78 were from Turkey. They supported us greatly, and MARUF Habitat was one of the official partners of MARUF. I believe it is very valuable because they also organize World Urban Forum. Also, they try to support the national urban forums in other countries, and because they consider it as a means of dissolving this information. And from other partners, in terms of speakers, the content, deciding on the content and the marketing aspects were the areas we took support. So it is not only an organization or a group that makes this possible, but many different stakeholders and actors doing it. We talked about more than 100 hashtags. We had sessions about them. We had more than 600 speakers, and it is almost the double of last year and even more maybe. And that's a possibility introduced by having it online, and 130 of them were foreigners. With the help of our executive board, you said, we have Mr. Tarkan, and I should be saying his name. He used to be criticized us about 2019, and he wanted us to prepare ourselves to 2021 accordingly. We had speakers from Western Europe, and he wanted us to expand our geography in terms of speakers, and we wanted to do this year. Of course, we can do better in every aspect, but we have speakers from Gambia till India and from the US till Japan, and we had speakers from Europe as well. So it's a great variety of speakers. I believe we went one leap ahead in that regard, Mr. Tarkan. We wanted to be comprehensive, inclusive when we selected the speakers and the topics, and as 3 female coordinators, we attached importance about the gender balance for these sessions. We failed sometimes, but I can say that we tried to do this and we were more successful compared to last year. I think this was all from the international partnership part. It was 3 days full of ambition, and having it online was a great opportunity, but it had many difficulties as well. For instance, speakers from Europe, the US, and Australia would not meet in the same session, of course, because of the time difference, and also personal calendars should have met the session program. So these were not disadvantages but difficulties that we faced. I still take the side of having everything in person. We try to do our best on virtual forums, and I still can't believe that we finished our forum. It is not limited to these 3 days, because we will start to collect the fruits of the seeds that we sow during MARUF. We will continue collaborating with the partners we worked with during MARUF. Thanks a lot. One correction. I know a friend who is a general coordinator of MARUF, and he also thinks that we should attach importance to gender balance. Görsem, Ms. Görsem, let's get to you. You also organized MARUF on the go, because we had many different new steps there. You continued the classical training part, but also you started the training programs of MARUF on September. That's a new procedure introduced by yourself. So you can start by mentioning those. That will be a pleasure for me, because we should know about that part as well.
Thank you, Mr. Cemil. As our friends also mentioned, MARUF did not last for 3 days. I think it will continue again. So we had some topics in which we said we should do that more, and so we had important and different activities. So that's why we wanted the MARUF to cover all these topics. We started with a certificate about the immigration and within the scope of the cooperation with Migration Office. And then we had a webcast activity in scope of MARUF about local governance. And we had 2 different workshops. One of them was with Dokunmu Türk, at risk the cultural heritage of 21st century. We created an open call for all the stakeholders to gather around in one single platform, and we created a good corporations. And the other workshop was about the emergency, which hosted many stakeholders from the Ministry of Social Work and Red Crescent or other types of organizations. And in one of the workshops, we managed to create a face-to-face environment. A workshop was about mapping the Marmara region, which was one of the first workshops we had, and in which 14 researchers worked, and with 13 contributors, they traveled across the Marmara region and spotted the areas where the nature and people crosses. The other workshop was about the youth in Marmara region. The importance of this workshop is that we also create an open call again for the young people who are eager to discuss these old topics. For 1 month, the young people decided on their own methodology. They asked the beautiful spots of Marmara region, and they presented the results of their work. The other one was Ideaton, the project title Ideaton. And the first topic was the City for Wildlife. We organized it with Zemin Istanbul and other organizations, and we decided on the 3 winners. The other project was Play Marmara. As you know, Play Marmara was in MARUF 19, but we created different segments, different sections, and we created a digital survey about the future of Marmara region. And in the end of the last quarter of October, we will create another game which can be played face to face. So now I would like to talk about the trainings we conducted within the scope of MARUF21. We tried to present different sessions designed with our partners and trainings. We had a training about nature-based solutions, which implies that the nature can exist within the city. We had participants from Switzerland, from WWF and Central European University, and in one of the other sessions, we had an important session which targeted the children about play, which was a play work for the children, and it aimed to convey the message that the children are not our future. They live with us with their own rights. So this is the perspective that we'll look to. Another project, another session was about the effect of air quality on children. We created a platform for the MARUF participants, and we selected 12 participants. These 12 participants will measure the air quality in the spaces where children are populated. We had another training by gay architect. They introduced the application about the public life, the implementation of the application in the public life. So I think this one was important in terms of the concept of comprehensiveness. And our participants, we saw that we had the same tendency in Turkey as well. The participants also reported their experiences as well. So WRI Turkey provided a training about bicycle transportation titled Bicycle 101. We discussed the importance and implementation of bicycle into public transportation. These coordinators for their efforts. For the fact that you created a good important platform for the platforms. Now we will hear about the people in charge of with you, Itır. Since the start of MARUF, since the preparations of the organization, do you think the process was comprehensive enough? Do you think your demands were fulfilled? How was the preparation? So, did MARUF managed to create a platform in which transparency or other concepts were visible and achievable? The fact that we organized this event that way is because we wanted to take lessons. Another reason is that we organized this event publicly because we're working on public, and we would like to remove or solve any problems we had. You enriched us in very different way, and we would like to hear about your comments. Thank you very much, Mr. Cemil Arslan, and I would like to thank the crew. I think even this broadcast and in this conclusion remarks are really important. This session is really important for all public institutions. I think your opinion on organizing things with all the public opinion is really important, because you try to include all the specialties, as many as you can. So in all of these meetings, everyone could put the important subjects to the forth. So organizing and planning the program of the MARUF was not that easy as well. So I think you did a really great job by organizing and planning and designing the program. I think I saw all of the topics that we earlier talked about in preparations. I saw every topic we planned. So sometimes they always talk about the plans or the topics they want to cover, but in real they do not. So, but I didn't see that it happened here in MARUF21. You paid attention to all the topics we planned in the preparation phase. And thank you very much for realizing the young table session. I think my evaluation is on the results that we gathered in young table sessions, because all of these opinions are really great opinions in terms of the future problems. So I think I see that the young people are really happy to see that they gained many insights. The sessions with concrete examples attracted their attention more, with concrete examples from worldwide, let's say. And they were also interested in the sessions which asked questions. After the session, sometimes there were some young people thinking about the question even after the session has ended, which shows that the session was really interesting. Not answering, but asking question might differ. And I saw that young people really liked the fact that the different opinions came from different domains, even some opinions that crosses negatively with each other. The young people had some criticism in terms of the content. I'd like to mention all of them once again, to maybe it will create an awareness. Young people think that when it comes to the development fund, they all forget about the young people, or they do not see themselves within the concept of communication. They think communication is an integral part. They are sensitive to the language, for example. Especially, they do not like the concept of our young people, which I really agree. I had the same mentality when I was young. So they do not like, for example, the concept of the leaders and young people of future. Of course, they embrace all of these ideas, but the addressing them like that is not that good, I think. So we are here to provide them with insights about the future. I know that you are working on the equality of gender distribution, but they also stress that they are sensitive to the gender issues. They say maybe it could have been more international. For example, that session, for example, our session was with 2 geography, but young people stressed that should have been more geographies, more locations apart from these specific 2. I know that you put a lot of effort in terms of and in background, especially in terms of technology, but they did not like the question and answer in a digital way, but the platform they use to comment on their criticism is Zoom, for example, not only in written way, but they could have asked their questions orally by participating online and have their say online. So I also agree all of the negative and positive comments of the young people. I think there are some things that you forget but could have addressed more. For example, you said the sessions that you put a lot of effort in terms of creating a platform, a network where the people can gather. For example, we had an important platform in the website, but it was not well introduced and should not be disregarded. For example, these nodes are not with names and surnames. Maybe they could have a button for us to reach out to the person who wrote that comment, to get in contact with the person who wrote it, but it's anonymous. All of the things that I said are details, but let me add this as well. For example, it was really great for you to share the contact informations of the speakers. I think it was a great idea. I'd like to thank you for our session as well. We had an important session with the Izmir Technological Institute. It was a session for us to materialize our motto, and once again, thank you for your efforts and contribution once again. Thank you. The values you added, thank you very much. It's actually a learning process, for example. Recently, we had a visit to a rector of a university with Ms. Zeynep. When we went there, the rector talked for hours about what he wants to do with young people. He was so excited, and we were really happy to see that. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to give the floor to Tarkan Oktay. You contributed a lot in MARUF19. You stressed your criticism in terms of being international back then, and you contributed a lot in the preparations. And we'd like to hear your comments in general, please. Thank you. Mr. Arslan, dear guests, I would like to salute you all cordially, and I hope you're having a good time. As Cemil Arslan told us, we are almost at the end of our second organized MARUF. By organizing well, by cooperating to each other, we see the importance of working together. With the leadership of you and the president of the Kocaeli Metropolitan Municipality, we had a great time, and we'd like to congratulate and thank you. And we are really grateful that you led us to be a part of this important event, which pleased us. As you know, people engaged in trade in Turkey are so modest like you. But with the networks and the government systems, I think this project was really an important example and perfect example, and I hope and I believe that your efforts was materialized in a good way. First of all, I would like to convey my detections about MARUF. What makes MARUF important and valuable is that the Union of Marmara Municipalities is not an organization, international organization, but a local one as well. It's not a sub-organization of European Union or United Nations. Although it's local, it's really beneficial and valuable to see that the Union organizes such events. And I think it's also important that the MARUF was important to create international platforms. Many topics like migration, pollution, or energy, all of these topics are international problems, but we start they all start with a local point. But I think the local institutions there should have their say, but the policy makers should also take decisions on that, and this event was a platform for them to see and hear all of these developments. Although the MARUF was organized online, it was a important organization which made the importance of the Marmara region and the strength of Marmara region with its cultural heritage. And on the other hand, the world has an ongoing process and has ongoing crisis, COVID-19 crisis, but we are in a period where we could compare and evaluate two different phases. But all of the evaluations and assessments are really important, both locally and also abroad. And in all of these meetings, we had the opportunity to discuss all of them. We see that most of the networks was created in a worldwide, but we need to make it more inclusive. So, with a network created by the municipalities in Marmara, I believe the networks created will be more versatile and multiple and open to worldwide. Another important point of MARUF was being interdisciplinary, and being the fact that it embraces the concept of interdisciplinarity. As an academic, we make some assessments thanks to the results that we have. But the importance is the fact that we need to bring the other completely different disciplines together. So comparing and contrasting different mentalities and letting people to make some assessments are really important, and MARUF achieved that. One of the benefits of MARUF in terms of public good is that many local governors, political decision makers, esteemed people from bureaucracy, or some high officials from private sectors fed from these platforms. All of the topics enriched their agenda. And the topics covered made them to think about other possible problems. I had the opportunity to watch all of these sessions. Sometimes I attended both sessions at one time. I would like to share my experiences. So, first of all, the variety of topics were really rich. It was really rich, and it was really great and delightful. We saw that many topics were covered, but there were some discussions about whether making it thematic or not. But my opinion about this discussion is the fact I think meetings who require specialty are always organized, but creating interdisciplinarity and creating one single platform, one single organization, and is better for people. I saw that young people were so eager, were so enthusiastic. Not in the meeting specifically designed for young people, but in the other ones as well. I saw that the dynamism contributed a lot to the forum. Apart from that, I saw that some organizations had the opportunity to introduce their works, their projects. So I think MARUF itself, it's like a bazaar, it's like a market. for PhD students, for example. In the speeches, I saw same problems, I mean similar problems, but solutions were always were also similar. Before the pandemic, the concepts of sustainability, governance, energy were the topics that covered the agenda before COVID-19. But with the COVID-19 crisis, we saw the importance and legalness of all of these topics. So another thing that stood out was cities resilient to changes. But at the same time, cities had an important test in process of a pandemic. In North America, for example, also in Europe, they also experienced the COVID-19 pandemic. They always assess the tests of the results of the tests, but we saw that all of the results are shared with one another, and they pay attention to the results of these works. But if you want to see if the result is important, you need to get an experience from a real tests, not expected ones. There is something that I'd like to underline in one of the sessions. For example, they look for a multiple of a city with multiple dimensions, but with people. They look for, people in the platform looked for more humane cities. But I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that even all of the topics are ongoing in a technical ground, only on a technical ground. But I saw that the philosophy or the theory was behind and could not proceed. Maybe bringing other people who were interested and had knowledge about the theory, not also the practice, could have been better, because it's one of the important subjects of the future. Like, let's call them people with wisdom, the fragmented disciplines, for example. Some domains created new fragmented dimensions, but could be addressed better. Leadership is another important subject. So municipalities have an important role in terms of gathering all of the citizens in responding to the problems. But municipalities, apart from the classic services, should put a lot of effort in creating a platform creating inclusive platforms. But we see that cities try to create their own solutions, their own roadmaps, and which will continue, I think, in future as well, because all of the cities should have their own roadmaps, but not only creating, they should also share it with the world as well. Another topic is the technological developments, which is inarguable in our time, and we see that it affected all of the aspects of the public life. I'd like to add a short something about the paradigm shift, so we can consider it as a hybrid. We heard about some developments in many regions, but maybe some application models could have been diverse, like United Nations. We should admire and place importance on the works of United Nations or European Union in general, but meeting should not be a meeting like meeting of United Nations. Istanbul, for example, is located in Turkish Republic. It's located in a region. So we see a system in the world. So you cannot carry the meetings of United Nations to Turkey locally. So we need to bring the question of ontological question about the organization. So when you look at the meetings of the United Nations, you see the topics of abject poverty or famine. But we see that the main reason of these topics is some countries. One of them are the permanent representatives of United Nations. And all of these permanent representations are the member states, like who creates the 60% of the pollution. Maybe we can invite some other cities here, because we're talking about some topics changing over time. If we are talking about a change, a paradigm shift, we need to add different sessions discussing about the changes.
On the other hand, there are other criticism who administrates the city, the political intellect, and other topics. With contribution from different regions, I believe that it will be more beneficial with contribution from other geographies and regions. So I leave the floor back to Mr. Cemil. I wish you success for the next MARUF. Thanks. This was a comprehensive and a detailed evaluation from your part. Thank you. We have 13-14 minutes left. I want to go to Ms. Ceylan, who worked from Izmir since 2019 from Izmir. Also, you are really helpful in terms of international communication. Let's hear from you. Good evening. As always, I would like to thank Marmara Municipalities Union and Mr. Cemil, Ms. Burjuhan, and all other participants. On behalf of myself and on behalf of Marmara City Forum audience, academics, other circles, and people from other sectors, I can give positive feedback. Thank you. I hear positive feedback. It is valuable that we get together for cities, because cities, social, political, and environmental areas, they have all these layers inside them. Cities reflect all changes rapidly, and they get together a lot of people. So it is very valuable that we meet for cities, and also it's a Turkey-based, Turkey-oriented forum. The audience, the academics, people from different sectors, see this agenda. You create this agenda. We get aware, we realize things, we are made aware of things that we we need to do, and we share what we do with other professionals. We have voice here, so it was really striking. Even though it was the second one, I would like to congratulate all of you, and also thank you for enabling us to contribute to this great effort. As you know, after Marmara City Forum, we faced extraordinary conditions of the pandemic. We are introduced with this new normal term, and it was scary at the first place, and we were thinking if we would go back to the normal and if everything would be normal. The pandemic crisis also surfaced different underlying crises in the cities. Maybe this was the most important outcome of the pandemic. This might be the accommodational problem, the lack of open spaces, the problems with the public transportation infrastructure, hygiene, health, were among other topics where we saw surfacing problems. And on this MARUF, these were among the topics that we discussed. The local governments play an important role at this point because they ensure great dissolution of information. They share their experiences. Rather than local government term, we hear from NGOs, universities, private sectors, and all these stakeholders have voice in this new term of governance. Of course, we were aware of this term before, but this is more visible in this MARUF event. According to UN, between 70 to 100 million people got really poor during the crisis, and women and the children were the most affected. The tourism crisis was also great. There was a 70% decrease in tourism, and aviation and global transportation were heavily affected as well. Since I'm coming from Izmir, I will talk about the problem that I faced. We faced natural disasters. The climate crisis harmed the cities, and some global problems were introduced to the cities. The immigrant issue was very present. So resilient urbanism should be underlined, and that's what we do in MARUF, and I believe we have a lot of distance to cover about this. I talked about these problems, but I really find MARUF really promising, because hearing from Ms. Burcu, Mr. Cemil, and everyone, I saw that the Z generation is aware of this. The people from the ages of 6 to 24, they don't like to be called our children. What I read, and with the interviews I made with them, the Z generation is very aware of the climate crisis. They do not have time in participating to social activities, and they are open to change. But being open to change is not enough. We should eternalize the change and adapt to it, and adapt our life practices to it. So we need to reach transformation. The sustainability is defined as ensuring our needs, meeting our needs without sacrificing from the needs of our future generations. And I believe the current generation appropriates its needs and its assets. They are possessive about it. So when we make our cities sustainable and resilient, they are really participative, and they are really democratic, and they are creative, and that's the manner we should undertake. I believe MARUF has an inclusive role, and it is a concrete example of inclusiveness. coming up with great new networks with professionals and academics from different circles. This was very valuable. Also, the new generations participants to the current process is important, and MARUF contributed greatly to that. Thank you. Thanks a lot, dear professor. Now we will hear from Mr. Alim. Mr. Alim has been with us since MARUF 2019. He contributed greatly to the preparation phase. Maybe he is one of the professors that we consult the most. When you make a comparison with 2019, what are your reflections about MARUF 2021? Thanks a lot, Mr. Cemil. I would like to send out my most cordial regards. Our time is limited, so I would like to make a summary of the comparison between 2019 and 2021. I am grateful and happy that I was a part of these two events. The organization from 2019 was a great success, and this one, during the pandemic, during the extraordinary hard conditions, it was possible. So even making it possible is a great success. The number of the speakers, the activities, the partnerships, they are all on the rise, and it shows that the forum meets its main slogan, resilience. As an organization, we saw that it was important to be prepared in advance, and we can say that the organization was successful. From the city council till the managers, employees, and the coordinators, I would like to extend my gratitude. This was a great organization, and we will have the third one soon. It refreshes the agenda, the urban agenda of Turkey. It restores and improves it, and also it leads to national and international cooperation and sharing of opinion. It lays the basis for that. And for this great help, I'm grateful, and I will not go into detail for that. Before the evaluation session of our mayor, I would like to finish my words by not taking a lot of your time. The activities are virtual these days, and as our coordinator said, it gives us an opportunity. It's an opportunity itself. Maybe we can go back to activities in person. Of course, we will want this at a certain point, but this virtual capacity contributed to MARUF 2021, and it contributed to MARUF on the go. Maybe we can have more specific and more topic-focused activities when we are preparing the event. We can have small events like MARUF on the go. So I think that this digital capacity will be really helpful to us when we are going to the next MARUF. Also, I would like to underline that MARUF 2021 had great variety of content. 111 sessions we are talking about. I checked on Excel, and it was quite rich in terms of content. We should be maintaining this. Both on local, national, and international levels, we should diversify the content and improve it. For the municipalities, the academics, there is a great agenda. If I was a young researcher, I would take away a lot of points to inspire my colleagues in the universities. Also, the matches with the sustainable development goals were impressive. We should continue working on it further. Also, we had a picture here. After the previous MARUF, MBB did great important work. It came up with a strategic document for the Marmara region, and also after the sea snot incident on the Marmara Sea, MBB was the pioneer institution to prepare the plan to clean the city, sorry. And it's an important example of concrete and solid, fruitful outcomes of the activities of MBB. The urban health and the panels going around it were really rich in content. There were workshops, roundtables, co-activities and competitions. We should make it more diverse, and we should have more participants. This might be really beneficial. For the next MARUFs, we should involve the city residents more, starting with Istanbul maybe. We should involve the elderly. That might be a good starting point. We should hear from their city experience. And we had young table, and that's a really good start, and I believe we can make it richer. PhD students told us, why are not we here? And I told them we will think about this. Data management and city statistics were among the topics. We should make projects about these and share the outcomes, and that's how people can hear from the already completed projects. So another expectation from the next MARUF, I expect that there was something great during MARUF 2019. There was a rich report after MARUF 2019. I expect a report of MARUF 2021 as well. Also, with richer work, with more comprehensive work, we should involve the outcomes, the takeaways of the sessions here, and make a deeper agenda, and we can select some certain specific topics discussed on MARUF 2020, and more focused works can be done. I have other notes, but I will be conveying them later on. City and Society magazine can spare some issues to MARUF 2020 because MARUF 2021 deserves it. City governors, city residents, the central government, NGOs, and other related stakeholders should receive the outcomes of MARUF 2021. We should be making them hear us, because MARUF is a process and it starts before MARUF itself. And after the event, the follow-up is also important. There were many discussions. Forum met its goal, but collecting the product, let's say, is also important, and we should come up with activities that can serve to that purpose. The takeaways from 111 sessions can be dissolved to many different media through different channels. That's how we can make people more interested in urban issues. I think it was a great forum, and again, from the City Council to the MBB managers and employees, I would like to extend my gratitude, and I would like to thank you for your attention. Thanks, Mr. Alim. Now we will hear from our president for their closing speech. But before that, I cannot count all the team members from MBB, but I can say the names of our friends from the creative team, because it would be unjust if I didn't, because for 3 months they're working day and night. First of all, our coordinators, and from the creative team, and I would like to thank people who execute the communicational part, and Yunus Demir Yürek working on the technical part. On behalf of them, I wanted to list their names. I would like to thank the interpreters, the logistics, and people who have worked on the preparation phase. And I would like to thank our sign language interpreter. For the closing speech, I would like to leave the floor to Mr. Tahir Büyükakın, Associate Professor, Mayor of Kocaeli, Metropolitan Municipality. Thank you, President, for MARUF. Thank you, Mr. Cemil. Actually, rather than closing speech, I can say, let's start again. That would be my first remark, because beginning from tomorrow, we should be working on the next MARUF, and this speech should serve as the first step of that. Both in the previous meeting and in this one, there were great contribution from the academics, the local governors, and the other stakeholders from all over the globe. Even though it was only online, I believe that MARUF 2021 was fruitful and beneficial, and I believe we will see the concrete results over time. Of course, we should talk about the positive aspects, but also when we are making an evaluation, we should always talk about the missing points, the weaker points of the organization, and we should think about what we should do next. Maybe the difference of such forums, the most important difference or the missing point of such forums is that we always speak, but we do not execute. There is problem in execution. We don't have such a mechanism. I had said this at my opening speech as well. The opinions that are shared here should come in force, and we should be working on the results. Between two MARUF forums, we should do the follow-up of the opinions and the comments shared here. We should think which of them we can implement, and to implement them, what kind of actions we should take. We should designate such mechanisms. Maybe we can think about this beginning from tomorrow. Some of our academics might create a framework about the opinions and ideas shared here, and maybe they can choose pilot municipalities and come up with projects for them, or else we will speak and we will forget. Some content remain visual or they remain written, but they will only be handled by the academics, but we should go out of the academic circles. And I'm saying this as a former academic. Yes, we conduct great work, we conduct great projects, but it should be touching our lives. If it is not touching our lives, you are not making change. That's why I attach more and more importance on designating these mechanisms. There are opinions, methods, and work here with great baselines, with great data, and with great reasons. And on the other hand, we have urgent daily needs, but between them we need a surface, we need a medium. This should not be something that we do in 2 years frequency, where we talk about the academic work we conducted, and it should go beyond it. For instance, we had a symposium on social work, social services, as Kocaeli Metropolitan Municipality. After the meeting, we said we should create a project using the ideas shared here. I am giving this example to make my point here. We have Millennium Development Goals, for instance. It involves a decrease in baby death rate. The academics talked about it, discussed it, and what will happen next? Of course, babies should not die. And what should we do? What should the municipalities do? What we did was we came up with an idea. On the last 3 months of pregnancy and on the first 2 months of pregnancy, a program to follow up the vaccination was offered. We said that milk would be distributed to mothers, and only mothers on the last 3 months or the first 2 months after the baby's birth, and they will go to the family health centers and they will give their vaccination card and take their milk boxes. So when you do that, you assign the municipalities an area of jurisdiction in order to ensure a decrease in baby death rate. Preferably people with PhDs or master's degrees should be on a round table, and there might be workshops there, and periodically this should be on the agenda of the city council meetings. With the participation of our mayors, we can come up with concrete project proposals. And it should not be limited to these abstract suggestions, but concrete projects should be put forward. That's how we can have 2 categories of academic work, theoretical and practical. And on the next period, I believe on the following days, that will be a great contribution from MBB. A group from the academics, a group from the municipality workers, bureaucrats, preferably master's or PhD degrees should be there, of course. If they come together and select the ideas that could be converted to projects, that would be great. It is similar to the European Union project formats, and we can designate a project format, and the voluntary municipalities can declare funds. How these funds would be used, in which areas these funds would be used, can be declared annually. This way, both the PhD students can specify their PhD theses, and also the municipalities can obtain the information from the conceptual level to the daily urgent needs of life. That can be a framework. And every term we can have 3-4 projects, and this will mean both contribution to literature, and also these will serve as good practice examples. I would like to thank every participant, organizer that contributed to MARUF 2021. An important crew is working at the back, and I would like to thank them for their efforts. And also I would like to thank our professors who contributed greatly during this evaluation meeting. I hope in the following days we will not be people who talks once in 2 years, but we will be a union that would work without even getting together. Of course, this framework can be developed by contributions. These are raw ideas. But if we work on this format, MARUF will be a vibrant, a lively forum. And I believe that will be a great contribution. And I want to extend my gratitude once more. Thank you. Good evening. Thanks a lot, Mr. President. Dear participants, as you see, our president gave us a vision, and for 2023 and 2025 MARUF forums will require us great preparation. We received some instructions about it. For the betterment of the world, let's rethink and co-act. So this was the end of this MARUF forum. Thanks a lot and good evening.